Josh Green here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by one half of Wasserman Boxing. It's Nisse Sauerland. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, very well. Exciting times for Wasserman Boxing. Double header coming up. Up in the up in the northwest. Some big shows and some big opportunities for some fighters on those cards.
Yeah, look, we've got obviously the Barrow against McGowan fight, England versus Germany versus Scotland/England, and it's on the same night as the Scotland-Germany game. So I think it should be, it's going to do some very good figures because a lot of people are watching at the same time. And then we got Dan Toward as well. For me, he's one of the most exciting prospects in the country right now. And we're going to be moving him very quickly. His manager Sam Jones, Dave Colwell. He's got a great team around him, and his progression is going to be very fast. So watch the Dan Toward space.
For Abbas, who obviously got that win over Sam Eggington a number of weeks back, and was a big win in his career over a recognised name. McGowan, somebody who's been in those wars, when he's stepped up the levels, he's often found himself on the wrong end of the result. Why is this the right fight for Abbas?
I think it's the right fight for both of them. Look, like you said, McGowan's sort of been in there. He's been at that level and may not have succeeded. And then Abbas is, he's obviously his star is growing. He's number 2 in the WBA with just Virgil Ortiz ahead of him. So that's one of the fights that we'd be looking to make if he comes through McGowan. And look, I expect McGowan to have a lot of his own support there. It's obviously near from where he's from. Look, I think Abbas has got untold amounts of talent. And I think like you said, it was his best win against Eggington. Eggington can be a boogeyman for anyone on if they don't have a good night. And the Abbas did have a good night, and I think Eggington had a really good night as well. It made for a really good fight, and that's what the fans want.
We used to see in the Wasserman shows sort of scattered every 6-8 weeks or so, but we've got 2 in 2 weeks. Was that the original plan? Is that how it's planned out?
It was because I don't want to go into it. It's more of a commercial decision, and we believe that the viewing figures will benefit from it, and in turn, that's our job to get eyeballs on fighters, to promote them, and actually make sure we're doing our job the best we can, so that they can get known and have their names out there. You'll have 1.5-2 million people probably tune into Channel 5 on Friday night. And I expect more because of, it's a lead in from the football. A lot of people are going to be home, they're going to be watching TV, and they're going to flick over and they're going to watch a great fight on Channel 5. And that runs into the fact that we can also hopefully advertise for Lyndon's big fight the following week. So people will actually, know these great fights are happening. Lyndon coming back, a bit of a homecoming for him. The return of the king. I think, look, when it was, sorry, I'm probably getting ahead of myself on this interview like I normally do, but I love Project Lyndon Arthur, and I'm happy to see him back. I'm happy to be putting these cards on, and keeping the UK boxing scene up and running.
When you talk about Project Lyndon Arthur, what is the end goal with that project?
Well, I mean, the end goal is to win a world title. We almost got there. Well, we won the IBO world title. And then obviously, he fought Bivol, 5 weeks notice. But, that's why I admire Lyndon as a fighter. And he was like, I was like, you want to do it? Like, yeah. Right? You don't get these opportunities very often. Obviously the money's good, but at the same time, you're still getting in there, and you're essentially risking your life to win a world title. I think it's a shame that he didn't have a bit of an extra camp for that, because he might have trusted himself a bit more in that eighth round. Because a lot of people are going to just pan me and comment, "Oh, what's he talking about? Dreamer, blah blah blah." But I actually still feel like in the eighth round he hurt Bivol to the body, and if he'd had that few more weeks, Pat Barrett will tell you the same thing. If he had a few more weeks in camp sparring, hadn't been on holiday in Holland or I can't remember where he was, somewhere like that, he could have put it on him. But that's the confidence of having a proper camp. But he did a great job, and look, we're back. We're fighting Liam Cameron. What a bloody story that guy's got, So I think it's a couple of weeks of great boxing on terrestrial TV, and I'm looking forward to being up in Bolton.
Yeah. That light heavyweight division is, it's a very packed division at the moment in the UK, but it's a difficult place to be maybe at that world level, because you've got Bivol and you've got Beterbiev, and we're waiting for that undisputed fight to sort of be arranged. It's difficult for you to get yourself into a position where you're fighting for a world title with those two right at the top of the division. Is it about sort of biding your time at the moment?
You say that, but a lot of people are in that position, don't do that, don't take those fights, So you get offered that fight, you get offered to fight for the world title against Bivol, you've got to take that chance. And we did. We came up short. We put our hands up. No excuses. I'm just saying it would be nice if we had a few extra weeks in camp. Doesn't matter. Boxing doesn't work like that. You take the chances. And if you fall short, you put your hands up and you say, "Look, we didn't do it." And we don't have excuses. I'm just saying it would be nice to have had a bit more extra time. But Lynn took it with both hands, and he deserves to have that a fight against Liam Cameron coming back. It's a tough fight. I don't know what Liam Cameron's got left. I know he was a force at middleweight. Was it middle or super middle? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the fact that he's been out of the ring for 4 years, I think it's been, which is, I'm not going to go into that too much, but I feel for the guy. I don't think that he's been treated correctly. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but because I can't comment too much. But if what I see and read out there is true, then it's a bit of I feel for him. Anyway, I'm running around in circles here, mate. You're the interviewer. Come back to you.
We'll move away from the Northwest and over to Saudi, and Maurice Bradis, who was out a couple of weeks back in his rematch with Jai Opetaia, put up a valiant effort against what most people believe now is probably the best fighter in the cruiserweight division. I'm sure you'll have something to say about
that. I do. I don't think he put up a valiant effort. I think his issue was that he started too late again. And I think, almost he'd be suited to the 1980s when it was 15 rounds. And Opetaia wouldn't be. I think Opetaia is a great fighter. Obviously, he beat Maurice Bradis twice, and we're not going to argue about the decision. But if you look at both halves of the fight, it was pretty close. It was closer than a few of those scorecards. And also, Maurice has been out for a couple of years, So I think Maurice still has a lot left in the tank. He needs to sort of realize it's not the 1980s anymore. It's not 15 rounds, because then he'd be world champion right now. Just get back in there. I think it's, if I was going to rank the cruiserweights at the moment, it's not where the world titles are. And I think all the cruiserweights will probably agree that Jai Opetaia, then Maurice Bradis, then a bit of a sort of a gap, and then it's the rest. Because they need to fight each other and they need to sort that out. And I think it's a great fight with Bill and Smith against Reactor, but whether they are ready for the likes of Maurice Bradis or not, I don't think so. I think they need to fight each other a little bit more and sort of grow into that world elite.
Is Maurice's future at cruiserweight still? Is there any thought of Bridgerweight or anything like that?
I just don't understand Bridgerweight personally. I think any sort of big light heavies will agree with me that there wasn't a Bridgerweight needed. It was a weight which would have been in between light heavy and cruiserweight. You know, where you got a 12 kilo, almost 2 stone gap. Where I've seen fighters who are sensational. Dion Juma, perfect example, very good fighter. However, could never get down to that 79.4. He was always around 81, 82. But then he's got to go up and fight these guys like the upper tire size or Bradis' size. It's huge. Yeah. When you look down at the smaller weights, it's a 1.5 kilo sort of weight classes. And there's now how many weight classes? We've got 18 weight classes, I think, with Bridgerweight. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why are we? I don't think the Bridgerweight's needed. People can boil down or just go up to heavyweight. There should be something, I don't know what I'd call it, but there should have been the Bridgerweight in between the light heavies and the cruisers, bridge it to cruiserweight. That's what would have made sense to me. So would I put Bradis in with an Okoli for the WBC Bridgerweight title? I think it's WBC, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's I'm contradicting myself there, but that's boxing, I'm afraid. And of course, I'd do that fight. It's a good fight, and I think Okoli still has a lot to give. I think Joe Gallagher's done a very good job with him. I think what Okoli always lacked was just finding that range of his punches, because he sort of lands his shots with his arms like that. He's got such long arms. He needs to use his range better, understand his range a bit better. And it seemed like he's, obviously it's only a 1-round fight, but he was landing the shots a lot cleaner against, what's his name, Sislak, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, would I consider Bridgerweight? Yeah. Would I consider heavyweight? It's best to talk to Myris about that. He's taking the punches.
Fair enough.
But what I've seen of Bridgerweight, it doesn't really make a difference if it's cruiserweight or Bridgerweight. Right? There's no one in the Bridgerweight division that's going to really make you that nervous. I think if you go up to heavyweights, then there is.
That's fair enough. We'll move on to a couple of heavyweight fights and some other fights around the card as well. The 5v5 at the weekend certainly delivered as a spectacle. I'm sure you were watching on. What did you make of the night as a whole?
I was actually at the Champions League final.
Lucky you.
So I didn't catch all of it, sadly. But I heard it was a great night. I heard it was a very long night. I think there's something that boxing needs to look into is the spacing in between fights. I understand it's a broadcast decision as well, but if you look at UFC, who have X amount of fights, I know there's less rounds, but you want action. Of course you need a break for someone to go out and have a beer, come back, get their, go and get their merchandise or whatever else. But you also don't need that long a break in between fights. But by all sounds of it, it was a very good night. Not a great night for Eddie. But yeah, look, it's an interesting format. It's an interesting format, but you had probably 3 really cracking shows in there. With chief support on the main event.
You've obviously worked closely with Eddie before. After taking what can only really be described as a pummeling from his great rival over the years, how will he be feeling this morning?
Well, I think he'll be totally fine. He'd be totally fine. I think it's more the boxers that I worry about who are actually in the ring getting punched. That's they're the ones sort of going in there and having awards, aren't they? So I think Eddie can take that in his stride, and he'll come out of it totally fine. He's the king of making it. He'll work for his advantage. Don't worry about that. Eddie will make. And look, Frank's already done it with the making the tea. It was brilliant. Like the lock stock quotes on the Matchroom social media. It's light-hearted. I think. I don't think it's as serious as maybe people make out. It's more serious what goes on the ring, and there's some really good fights. I heard that Nick Ball did very well against that Ray. Ford. I heard it could have gone either way. I really like that Nick Bull's style, the wrecking bull. My mate Philip. I haven't watched the fight back, but I heard that that it was a lot of headbutts going in and accidental clash of heads. It was a bit of a messy fight. He sort of got tired, and got stopped on cuts. It's a shame for Philip. He was on the upward trajectory for so long, and so many of these fighters were avoiding him, and it just seems maybe he needs to just take a little step back, work out what the next play is. And I've been talking to him. It's his birthday today, actually, so we'll see what's next in store there. And then obviously Deontay Wilder. Don't know what to say. I don't know what they're doing in training. It's like sort of it's a shame because I really enjoyed watching Wilder and his wild style. You're not gonna teach a dog new tricks, right? That's what he did. He windmilled. Yeah, don't stop windmilling. That's you're never gonna. You saw that with Chris Eubank Jr. when he was when he started doing the whole sort of Roy Jones style. It didn't work, and when he went back to what he knew, in the second Liam Smith fight, boom, it worked. So I think fighters need to just focus on their strengths and cover up their weaknesses a bit more, and I think his strength was the windmills.
From a mental point of view, with Deontay Wilder, the Wilder that we've seen in the last two fights, I think definitely from the outside looking in, looks like a completely different Deontay Wilder to when he was that long reigning world champion. Is that how you analysed it? And does that mean retirement for Deontay Wilder?
I mean, I heard that he's sort of on the old peace pipe and all the DMTs and the peyote and the ayahuasca, which I think it's definitely got a time and a place for people and for mental health and whatever else. But I don't think that helps when you're in a boxing ring. I don't. You don't really necessarily want to be too happy and too in tune with your environment and whatever else. You want to be, you want to be a hard man. You don't want to be, you don't want to take prisoners. You want to go in there and knock the other guy out. And that's what I heard he was doing. I don't know. I think that it's up to him really what he wants to do. I'm not gonna, and he'll do whatever he wants to do. I think no matter what anyone says, he's a fighter and he's got that mentality. For people aren't going to tell him. He'll know when it's time to hang up his gloves. Hopefully, maybe you come and do a Misfits. You never know. It'd be great over 5 rounds, 5 threes. Deontay Wilder against Jarrell Miller or something like that. That would be brilliant. I'll tune into that.
Yeah, I'm sure many people would.
Get 20-ounce gloves.
You talked about Filip Hrgović and Daniel Dubois. It's been widely reported now, and it's been said for a little while that Dubois, the winner of that, will now go on and face Anthony Joshua in September. How do you see that fight going?
I think AJ will win. I think AJ's got his mojo back. But Dubois, credit to him. I mean, after that Joyce fight, I thought, that's it. And I remember seeing Dubois before he left sort of Dale Youth. He used to be at Dale Youth, so I used to see him up at Dale Youth. No one wanted to spar this guy. I think he was only 15 or 14 at the time. He's massive. And I just remember thinking, this kid's going to go all the way. And like any journey in boxing or whatever it might be, you're going to have bumps in the road. His bump in the road was Joyce. What showed that he was actually deserved to be in the world class was his Usyk fight. Whether it was low, whether it wasn't low, we can argue about that forever. That's done now. But it showed that he deserved to be at that class. I think he went away and he worked on his strength and his conditioning, and he'd come back and you saw that he took some shots. I only watched the highlights of the fight. I'm going to watch it back in full, but he took some serious shots, and he kept coming. And I know Don Charles is a great trainer, and he deserves that. Kieran Farrell's been up there, I believe, as well. I know he's doing. My mate's got a Pilates studio upstairs from Don Charles's, so I think he's been doing a bit of Pilates as well, which not many people know that Joseph Pilates, the man who created Pilates, number one, it was a man. It wasn't a woman in Lululemon leggings. Yeah, it was a man who boxed. Yeah, he was a boxer. He was an amateur boxer, and he did this to get his core strong so he could throw his shots better and not pop his back out. So, any young amateurs, get yourselves down to the Pilates Reformer Studio now. It's definitely, I don't know how much Dubois did, but I know he went up there. It's definitely beneficial to boxers, not just the weights, not just the hitting the pads, definitely the sparring, but a bit of Pilates in there every other week or something. It's not a bad thing.
Good advice. Excellent
Yeah.
advice.
No Lululemons on the men, just on the women. Yeah.
Final bit of business. Chris Eubank Jr., obviously now not a Wasserman fighter. How much of a sort of promotional asset do you believe Chris Eubank Jr. is outside the big heavyweights here in the UK? Do you believe he's as big as anybody but them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've said that before. Sometimes things don't, go the way they're planned. We wish Chris, all the best in the future, and I'll leave it at that. I like Chris, and we've had some great times together. The Super Series, and whatever else was brilliant. But like all things have to sort of end sometime, and all I can say is I wish him and his team the best, and let's see what the future holds for Chris. I'm excited to see what journey he's going to go on. I really am.
Lots of people have mentioned, and Hamza Shiraz is one of them, the Shiraz versus Eubank Jr. fight at Wembley in September. Can you see that as a possibility?
I wouldn't know. I think that's more my brother who deals with that sort of side of things. He might have heard something. I'm a bit of a fan myself, so I've seen the rumors around. It's a great fight. It's a brilliant fight. I think Shiraz is, he's a good fighter. He's definitely. I mean, how old is he? He's 22.
25,
25. He's still got a good 10 years of a career left. So if he plays it right and wants to box, but I see that as a really good fight, a really good, exciting clash of styles. I couldn't pick a winner, and I'll definitely be watching that.
Excellent stuff, and we'll all be watching in just over a week's time, 10 days time, up in the northwest, and then up in Bolton as well.
And we got Lerone Richards coming back, so don't write off Lerone. I'm telling you, he's going to be a world champion. Everyone thinks I'm mad, but the guy is a 12-round fighter, and he's got a lot to prove. And we got Tom Wellard, and he's along with Dan Toward. I can't say how excited I am with those two. They're like, give it 2 years. They're going to be headlining, and people are going to be. Just remember this interview. Just play it back to me. Keep this on in your library. Clip this little part and just remind me in 2 years. Let's have this chat again in 2 years. Where have Tom Wellard and Dan Toward gone? And also don't forget Matty Harris is coming back, trained by Peter Fury now. And Peter doesn't train junk. So and he's one of the most respected trainers out there. And he wouldn't be wasting his time if he didn't think that was a good project. I can only judge so much on a promotional basis, but the proof is in the pudding in the gyms, right?
Indeed it is. We all love Peter Fury. Well, cheers for your time today, Nisse. I really appreciate it. And best of luck,
buddy.
Coming up.
Did you just do that?
I didn't do that, but that was absolutely perfect, wasn't it?
Oh my God, that was unbelievable. Well done, mate. How did you do that? I didn't
do anything, I promise you.
Definitely wasn't me, mate. That's way too technical. I'm happy I got these headphones working. I'm quite impressed with myself. Have a good one,
Amazing.
my man.